then you can set up technology that still has your name, your face, your branding, your tone, all of that, the connection that you like to make, but you set it up so the system is making those connections for you on that repetitive basis, freeing you up for those deeper personal connections.
Yeah, there is no doubt, Bonnie, that automation, and like you said, if you're doing it more than once, you should automate it. Again, for those that are listening here thinking, but how do I know which ones are important? What would you say are the 5 most important things that you've experienced, and not only in your own practice, but with the attorneys you're working with? The 5 most important things that if they haven't automated it yet, they need to start looking to automate.
So I would automate absolutely emails to your clients. That's number one. I would automate internal notifications to your team when certain things happen, whether somebody else on your team has done something or your client does something. There's a way to make sure the right people are notified of that because they have steps to do thereafter. You also want to automate the creation of tasks. So meaning as soon as you engage, as soon as a client engages you, there are, a predictable, let's say 5 things that you and some other team members need to do. So automate the creation of those tasks so they just show up on your task list right then and there. Also automate the sending out of invoices and invoice reminders and when a balance is due. So things like that, where you're like, every single time I need to do this task, I need to send this email, I need to send that invoice, I need to collect payment, I need to make sure my team is notified. Those are the 5 best examples of things to automate.
So I'm just going to stay on this for a little bit longer because one of the things we hear constantly is the misunderstanding or the miscomprehension or just the myth in general of, well, I've had Joan work for us for 25 years. And if I automate it, what's going to happen to Joan and whatever from there?
Yes.
What can you share some insights on that for us?
So my take on this idea of like, well, I've had someone working for me for 20 years, and if I automate these things, then they're out of a job. To me, that's kind of fear-based mindset. That's a scarcity mindset. My view on it is when you automate things that can be automated, and there's really no reason for a human to be manually doing those things over and over anymore, given the technology out there, you don't let them go. You automate, you take off their plate the stuff that's just taking up an extreme amount of unnecessary time so they can do more for you. Now have that person helping you schedule more presentations and webinars in your community and doing the follow-up that can be personalized, like picking up the phone to call versus sitting there and drafting an email that looks the same every time, but it's a template, but it takes 15 minutes to double check and make sure that, again, a system could do for you instantly. Then free up that 15 minutes for that person so that they're calling 3 leads who recently opted in for something on your website or came to a presentation or webinar. So just like you as the attorney can convert your time into the highest and best use by delegating out non-attorney work, that person who's been on your staff for a long time or even a year, whatever it is, when you take off their plate work that's below their value, their value of time, in an hour, let's say, and you take that off their plate and allow technology to do it, then now they're leaning into their highest and best use of their skill set. So you're not letting them go. You're not cutting humans out of the process. You are giving the humans the more time to create those personal relationships by phone, by personal email checkpoints, meetings, and all of that. Because now that you're saying, like, you're not just a clerk anymore, you're not just tippity typing into a templated email for 15 minutes, you can actually make a personal connection. That is a better outcome for all involved.
Well, Jill, I want to talk about personal connections now because just as you mentioned on this, a lot of attorneys out there in the planning things are looking at flat fee projects. That's what they generally tend to do. So, but there's also room for more premium engagements, more premium but recurring engagement, and with more time, like you mentioned earlier, doing more outreach with regards to webinars or presentations, so that there's an inflow of potential leads. Can you share a story of a firm that has used your legacy system to move from the standard flat fee projects to a more premium recurring engagements?
We have an attorney in our program. Her name is Rebecca, and she moved from these more, flat fee projects in the sense of all she offered was simply, a flat fee for a will-based plan or trust-based plan. Flat fees are important, by the way. So we have knocked hourly billing to the curb. We're only doing flat fee, but those are still closed-ended engagements, and you always have to keep finding new clients. Well, in Rebecca's case, she dialed that in. She has a very clear fee schedule where these flat fees for new clients, they come in and choose which plan they want. And so that's working great for her. So now she's thinking, well, how can I add on kind of these more premium recurring engagements? What are things I could do where I'm not just trying to find a new client every single time, but a client who, say, does a trust-based plan? Do they need me to check in or do certain things or make sure certain paperwork is completed? needed ongoing, is that a service I could offer? So we helped her design a service where for her clients who have irrevocable trust, so that's a kind of a type of trust that requires more paperwork, more upkeep, especially on an annual basis than your typical probate avoidance trust. But when she does irrevocable trust for her clients, she offers to them, hey, for this, recurring fee, we can set it up that every year I make sure that your accountant has exactly what they need for the trust tax return. And I make sure that we have the right documentation on file in case the IRS ever audits this particular trust, because irrevocable trusts they're designed for tax savings, for creditor protection, but you don't get those benefits if you just set it up once and never look at it again. If you're not complying year over year with exactly what these third-party entities could come in and say, hey, you didn't do that, so that the protections that you thought you had don't exist because you never complied, then Rebecca realized I can charge for that, as I have clients who opt for that type of trust for whatever reason for their estate. So that's a great way that attorneys can say, hey, I'm here to help you over time for the clients who have a little bit more of complex planning. Another really great way that I love to teach attorneys to have a recurring revenue model is through a client loyalty program. So what I built in my own firm was a very low cost to the client, like something where they're paying something, but compared to say other attorneys who might say, well, I have a membership program where we do a meeting every quarter and we do all this elaborate stuff. And that is a model you could do, but it's also it's a huge lift on the attorney's office. So it's high cost, but huge lift. I opted for a lower cost, lower lift option in a client loyalty program where basically the benefits they received, I didn't have to spend any of my own time, like future meetings and promising to do legal work complimentary in the future. That would be very time consuming. So you can decide what your loyalty program looks like, but at the end of the day, there's different models you can do there. And if you decide I want to stay in front of my clients for the long haul, then you should design a bundle of benefits and then give them access to the way that they can stay in touch with you in a closer way for a fee. And that's a beautiful add-on to always simply having to find new clients for incoming revenue.
That's a very creative way to keep, as you say, keep revenue coming in.